Emergency meeting to order. Marshall, would you like to take us through with the latest update, please?
Yes, sir. As you can see on the board, we're starting to get the outer bands to be coming through. One thing with these outer bands, you never know how they're going to set up. It could be get very dicey at times, a lot of rain, or we could be in between them and get very little. So that's one thing you just can't forecast that. We know they're there. We know that the possibility of them setting up over the county is there, and then still the possibility of them containing tornadoes will be there. So the forecast track continues to slide a little bit to the west, which is good for us. We are right now, if you look at the blue ring around the location of the storm, that is your sustained tropical storm force wind field. And if you want to just automatically move it forward, David, just let it loop. You can see that wind field shrinking. And so it actually stays off Gulf County coast, which is good. So we might get tropical storm force winds, but they'll be in the bands. We shouldn't get any sustained tropical force winds off of it. But the reason this thing is the wind field's getting smaller is when it first started, as you see down below the Keys, everything was kind of real wobbly, and the storm was really not well organized. And now the storm's starting to tighten up, so it's pulling those wind fields in. It's also starting to slow down, so it's going to start intensifying and out over that warm Gulf water. When it starts slowing down, one concern and something that we need to watch is that, the slower it gets means it can go anywhere. As long as it's moving fast, it pretty much goes where it's going to go. I think they're fairly confident in the track model, but I think they've been fairly confident on every track model they put out. But we're getting closer to landfall, so that's good. As far as what we're looking at for Gulf County, we're still looking at storm surge down around Indian Pass, probably 3 to 5 feet. And about the same, maybe a little bit lower on the outside beach. Not a lot of storm surge, but that's going to be on top of your high tides. West Pass over in Franklin County, I think the high tide today was around 11:15 this morning. And that's the closest that we get as far as tide forecasting to Gulf County. And then St. Joe Bay was around 8 o'clock this morning, supposed to be high tide. So it kind of gives you an idea of where the tide's going to be. So your storm surge is actually set up on top of your tide. So you add, that 2 foot to it. I think, like Mark was saying the other day, the tides are running a little high right now. And then on top of that, you have your wave action. So, you're looking at 3 to 5 feet storm surge, another 2 feet, 5 to 7 foot height, and then wave build up on top of that.
Marshall, in comparison with Debbie, is probably pretty close to the same thing that the Indian Pass area may experience through the lagoon and all of it.
I'm thinking about the same thing, maybe a little higher. I'm hoping no more than that.
That's a good reference anyway.
Yeah, it is. The road will definitely go under. We know that, and but hopefully it won't get up into any businesses or houses. The boat ramp will probably go under down there and around Indian Pass campground. It'll probably get up in there, and they'll sustain some damage from there. Hopefully it won't get up in the raw bar or in any homes down there. One thing we will need to do, I need to get with you on, is getting a bypass open down there when the time comes. Rain, like I said, we're looking at 7 to 10 inches. It's still a concern of the power companies. They have brought additional crews in, and so what they're doing is they're leaving those crews in place simply because they're still concerned about trees going down, clipping power lines, and loss of power. So I know that Progress Energy, I think they have about 300 people and about 150 trucks staged in Crawfordville and Appalachia. So hopefully we'll be able to hit that hard and get power back on. They have chainsaw crews as well as the line crews that'll be in here. So they're prepped and ready. Really, that's one of my biggest concerns is loss of power. We've worked real well with our people with special needs, with elderly people, anybody that would be electrical dependent, and letting them know that, you might be without electricity for some time. And those people that do depend on an oxygen concentrator, they have got in touch with their medical suppliers, and they all have bottled oxygen brought in. So right now, I think we're in real good shape. The Hunterville Community Center is being opened 9 o'clock Eastern Time this morning, so it's being opened as we speak. Don't expect a big influx of people coming in there, but it is open and will remain open until all danger is past. So if anybody needs to go there because of their homes flooded, flash flooding, or loss of electricity or whatever, then that facility is available. Anything I missed?
I see Mr. Progress Energy's in the house, Bobby Pickles. You want to come up and add anything on the electrical situation? We appreciate you being here, Bobby.
Thank you for the opportunity to come before the board today. I know there's a lot of different issues that the board's having to consider on the electric utility power front. Progress Energy, just as Marshall indicated, we have pre-staged about 300 resources in Tallahassee. The plan is, depending on the storm, we would bring about 150 into Apalachicola Airport and about 150 into Crawfordville, and we'd be able to share resources back and forth. As the storm track continues to move west, we're going to have to make some decisions tonight about whether we might release some of those resources further to the west to provide mutual aid assistance to our neighboring communities that now look like they'll be more severely impacted. But we're going to hold those resources until tonight to be sure that we're going to be out of the woods in this area before we start having those conversations about the potential mutual aid to our neighbors to the west. So that's a little bit of an update. Marshall, I just got off the phone with our folks prior to walking in here, and they were talking to me about the requests that we're getting from the west. So we're going to review that staffing plan tonight based on the storm track. So.
Any questions from the board? Bobby, thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Mr. Butler, anything else to add? Marshall, you have no request or any things that we need?
The only thing I would like to request, Mr. Chairman, is that yesterday, I apologize, whenever we were doing the evacuation notice, I failed to mention low-lying areas prone to flooding. I mean, that's a given. Most people live in low-lying areas know that, but if you will, just add that
To the voluntary.
voluntary evacuation. It's low-lying areas prone to flooding.
So move, Mr. Chair.
A motion, Commissioner Yeager.
Second.
Second, Commissioner McDaniel. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Marshall, do you have a surge prediction for St. Joe Bay?
We had a very long conversation last night with National Weather Service, and all of our heads hurt by the time we got off of it. What they're looking at is 2 feet maybe. They're not looking at a lot in the bay itself. Like I said, the biggest problem is going to be Indian Pass, which is not the problem that we had originally. But in looking at the bay, I don't see any problems with what we're going to have. There again, will it come in on high tide? That's what I was asking, is when do you expect the actual storm surge to come? And what was it they said, between 8 o'clock tonight and 8 o'clock tomorrow?
It was 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. They give it
Yeah,
24 hours.
it's 24-hour span. So, flip a coin. But what I'm looking at is the actual height of the storm surge, and I don't see any problems that y'all would have inside the city.
Superintendent Norton, do you have any update from your school board? Has nothing changed?
We plan on being open tomorrow.
Okay.
In light of the fact we're not going to have tropical storms, we'll monitor close those that live at Cape San Blas, Indian Pass. Certainly, we understand if they have to take action in the low-lying areas, but otherwise, we will plan on schools being open as regularly scheduled.
Okay, thank you. Well, I appreciate everyone's been involvement, and the board and the staff and the folks that have been here. Yes. I'm sorry, come up, ma'am. Can you come up to the podium, please?
I set a bad example.
With the storm surge and the rain and everything, with the tar balls that have been sank in the ocean and coming up to the beach, do y'all have anything in place so people can report it and get it cleaned up before Labor Day weekend and all the tourists get here?
That's a very good question. From a product standpoint, we do have some folks in our staff and some folks that work during the storm with the contractor that are basically what they call a SCAT team, which basically they were trained in that specific cleanup. But our staff and our emergency management people are aware of that. So I think in the recovery, as people will go in, we certainly can contact our emergency management if you know, post the storm as we get into the recovery side. But we'll have teams that look for that as well.
Okay. And there's tractors grinding them in the sand, so, you know, the kids and the parents can't see them. Do you have somebody that's going to pick it up?
Not at this particular point. I mean, we'll just do a survey and analysis, but certainly if the public sees that, that's how we did it, during the actual event. And any more product that comes to our shores would be identified, but certainly we would not try to, actually bury it in that process. A lot of the burying was done actually by, just sort of the natural movement of the waves. But my suggestion is once the storm's over, certainly we can have some folks run the beaches and see what they're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay, I just want to appreciate everybody. I know that, we've been sort of blessed and some of the neighbors come the different directions, but I appreciate the community and all the staff and the different resources and non-governmental organizations. I mean, we've done a really good job, again, Marshall, with your leadership of sort of guiding us through. I don't think we should stand down. There's still a lot of concern regarding the wet grounds, the storm surge, trees down, power. So we still need to be very vigilant and be that, but certainly different from the first meeting we had when we thought we were looking right down the barrel of it. So with that, if there's not any questions, motion to adjourn?
Second.